Hi, so it's time for Grandma Reads a Story, and this program is a joint program with the Foster Grandparent Program of Oakland County, sponsored by Catholic Charities of Southeastern Michigan and the Pontiac Public Library. And we are celebrating, of course, Black History Month. So we have stories about dreams and believing, and also about Lonnie, who was the inventor of the Super Soaker. So, Grandma Janet, you can start out. Pick which story you would like to read, and take it away.
Okay, the book I have right here is In My Dreams I Can Fly. And here we see various insects and a couple of worms, and they're all kind of together. They're all buddies in this one special place. And the authors are Eveline Hasler and Kathi Bhend. Above the ground, a strong wind was blowing the leaves from the trees. Fall had arrived. Below the ground, 5 friends were getting ready for the long, cold winter ahead. A grub, 2 worms, a beetle, and a caterpillar. And then here's the tunnel they have, and each had their home somewhere in here. Every third evening, the friends played cards together in the grub's home among the roots. The little beetle usually lost, so the caterpillar told them funny stories and jokes to cheer them up. Here's the beetle, and then here's the caterpillar. And once again, there's the nest that they all shared together. As winter approached, the ground got colder and harder, but the 2 worms weren't worried. They showed their friends the bits of leaves and nuts that lay scattered about their home. They had collected plenty of food for the winter. You can see how they're all busy planning for the winter ahead. I'm not worried about winter either, cried the beetle, whose home was as round as he was. Look at the tasty morsels I've hidden under my bed. No one will steal them from me. What about you? The friends asked the caterpillar. What have you saved? Come with me and I'll show you, said the caterpillar, and she led the way through the tunnel. Here's the caterpillar going through the tunnel. And the beetle. When they got to the caterpillar's home, the friends were amazed to see beautiful colors reflected on the walls. The caterpillar lay down on a bed of the thinnest shining threads. My beautiful colors and woven threads keep me warm in winter, she said. I don't need food. All I need are dreams. The grub smiled suddenly. I dream every night too, he said. In my dreams, I can fly. I have something saved for winter too, the grub continued, but it's a secret. I'm saving it for when we've eaten everything else, then we can eat my secret together. The grub showed them the door to his storeroom. It was locked, but the key was hanging above the door. The poor little beetle couldn't stop thinking about what might be hidden behind that door. One afternoon, when the grub had gone out, he took the key and unlocked the door. Inside was a huge onion. It's a perfect picture of an onion. The beetle's mouth started to water. That onion looked so big and juicy. Right at the bottom where no one would notice, he nibbled a little bit away. You can see down here, he's nibbling a little bit.
No one noticed? We'll find out.
Above the ground, it had started to snow, big fat flakes. That evening, the friends gathered to play cards, but the caterpillar wasn't among them. The beetle went to look for her. He found the caterpillar in her room wrapped in thousands of tiny threads. Right here. Well, why are you hiding? Asked the beetle. Come on, we're playing cards. I'm dreaming, the caterpillar whispered so softly that the little beetle could scarcely hear her. What are you dreaming about? Asked the beetle. About colors and sky, came the soft reply. The beetle hurried back to tell his friends about the caterpillar. Perhaps she just needs a rest, said the grub. Don't worry, she'll feel better soon. It seemed as if spring would never come. It was getting very cold under the ground and the friends were running out of food. I think it's time to show you my secrets, said the grub one evening. He took the key down from the wall and opened the door to his storeroom.
Uh-oh, what's gonna happen? I wonder.
Oh no, what's happened to my onion? Cried the poor grub. The beetle began to cry. It wasn't my fault, he said, weeping. I only took a little bite, hardly a mouthful. Come look at the onion, his friends called to the caterpillar. It's just right there. It really didn't take much of that onion. But the caterpillar did not come. In her home, they discovered only a tightly woven ball. It was empty. So I think that they were probably worried about her. You know, they kept talking about, you know, was it, whose fault was it, and how did all this happen? The caterpillar was gone. The onion was ruined. It was a terrible day for the friends. They sat among the roots and cried. But above the ground, the snow was melting. Warm winds were blowing. Spring was on the way. Slowly, the little homes below the ground began to warm up too. The two worms felt perky again. They began to dig tunnels all over the place. Suddenly, one popped his head through the ground into the fresh air and sunshine. There's a whole new world up here, he said. Right above the grub's storeroom stood a tall green stem with a bright bud on top.
Wow.
You've got to come up and see this, he called.
What happened?
Well, that was, it's a flower, I believe.
Okay, turned into a flower.
The worms raced back with their news. Your onion isn't dead after all, they told the grub. Something amazing has happened to it. The grub set off to see for himself. Slowly he worked his way up and up. By the time he got to the surface, it was night. There was the beautiful flower stretching up above him.
Wow.
A little like a tulip. So that was a tulip bulb. It wasn't an onion after all.
Yep.
Hello, grub, said a voice in the air. The grub would have recognized that voice anywhere. It was the caterpillar. But she wasn't a caterpillar anymore. You can fly, gasped the grub. It's what I've always dreamed of doing. The butterfly laughed. Be patient, little grub, she said softly. One day your dream will come true. So that's the end of that.
Okay.
And I didn't know what kind of grubs these are, or that they fly. I'm not really sure.
That's a good thing. Yep. So anybody watching this can can search and tell us about grubs and make a comment. Post it on our page. Love to hear what you find out. Different kinds of grubs. Are there different kinds of grubs? What happens to them? They change too.
Right. I don't know anything about grubs.
Yeah.
I know nothing, but that would be interesting if somebody could knows about it and can tell us.
Yeah. I know they try to get rid of them in lawns. I know that. Not good for your lawn. So, what did you like about the story?
I just liked the way that they all got together. They helped each other, encouraged each other, and in doing that, they began to learn how other creatures lived and how they built their homes and what they ate and so it kind of was interesting in that way, I thought.
Yeah, they had respect for each other. They're different creatures. They still respected each other.
Treated each other nicely.
Yeah. When one was disappointed because he always lost, and the other one tell jokes to make him feel better. It's a nice thing to do when somebody's sad. Make them laugh. So yeah, and I like the whole idea of I have a dream that he was dreaming about flying someday. And did, Caterpillar did fly. And so just don't worry, someday reassure the grub too.
So what we need to know is, do grubs fly? Do they grow into a fly, or is, that's what I would like to know, because it did say the grub said he wanted to fly too. So at least I think that's what I read.
Yeah.
That he saw the caterpillar was going to fly, and he said, I want to fly, and then the butterfly said, you will one day. So that would be interesting, whether grubs grow into a flying insect.
Well, some grubs are the larvae of Japanese beetles, and Japanese beetles do fly. So anyway, it's interesting.
They just didn't put in the Japanese part. They just put in the grub.
Yeah. So maybe. Okay. So let's enjoy what is our second story?
All right. Our second story is based on a true story about an inventor, and it sort of tells his path to greatness. And it's by Chris Barton, and it's illustrated by Don Tate.
Sure. What's the name of the book?
And it's Lonnie Johnson's Super Soaking Stream of Inventions.
Whoosh.
And then here's all of his inventions in here. You can see the robot here, and toy parachute, hair curlers, the super soaker water guns, pressurized air water rocket and launcher, all of that.
Like things that do things. Let's make things that do something. Just sit there.
It's by Chris Barton, and it's illustrated by Don Tate. Okay, so every day brought a challenge for young Lonnie Johnson, the challenge of finding space for his stuff. 6 Johnson kids were squeezed into their parents' small house in Mobile, Alabama. Lonnie would have loved a workshop of his own, but there just wasn't room. There was nowhere to keep his rocket kits. bamboo shooters, rubber band guns, erector set, go-kart engine, bolts and screws, and other spare parts his dad let him bring in from the shed, and various other things he'd hauled back from the junkyard. Lonnie loved building and creating. Ideas for inventions just kept on flowing. He learned how to make rockets from scratch. Kids at school gathered to watch Lonnie launch them, and he learned how to make rocket fuel. When it caught fire in the kitchen, Lonnie's mom didn't make him stop. She just sent him to work outside. Lonnie wanted to spend his life designing things, building things, and getting them to work. He wanted to be an engineer. However, Lonnie took an exam that said he would not make a very good one. His dream had been challenged. Lonnie was discouraged, but he knew that whoever had graded his test hadn't met Linux. Inspired by a TV show, Lonnie had built his own robot. He made it out of scrap metal and named it Linux. Compressed air cylinders and valves allowed Linux's body to turn and its arms to move. The switches came from an old broken jukebox. Lonnie used a tape recorder to program Linux, and as a bonus, the reels looked like eyes. Lonnie wanted to enter his creation in a science fair, but he couldn't get the transmitter to work. Without it, Lonnie couldn't send commands to Linux. Science fairs came and went. Lonnie missed one and then another until he got an idea. Now, Lonnie may or may not have asked before he borrowed his little sister's walkie-talkie. But it fixed the transmission issue. His school's team took freshly finished Linux to a 1968 science fair at the University of Alabama, where only 5 years earlier, African-American students hadn't even been allowed.
Wow.
Having to compete in a place that still wasn't very welcoming, now that was a challenge with a capital C. Against other schools from all over the state, Lonnie's team won first place.
Wow. Cool.
Soon, Lonnie left home to go to college at Tuskegee Institute, where he stood out as a self-confident, insightful, creative thinker. He stood out as a student who asked the right questions, precisely defined problems, and formulated solutions. And he stood out as the guy who built his own booming sound system out of cast-off electronics. It even had lights that flashed in sync with the beat. And you see the people dancing. They're having a good time.
Yeah.
That was a great invention. Lonnie sometimes studied right in the middle of his own parties. The extra studying paid off. He became an engineer after graduation, and that took him beyond Alabama, way beyond.
So much for that test that said he wouldn't make it as an engineer.
Uh-huh.
Can't believe everything, I guess.
When NASA was sending an orbiter and probe called Galileo to Jupiter, the space agency needed to ensure a constant supply of power to the orbiter's computer memory. The engineer who had to figure out how to do it was Lonnie. And here he is, he's teaching. And he's showing them how everything works, what to do, and explaining everything. His challenge was to come up with a lightweight backup system able to keep essential functions going in case the main power was lost. It wasn't easy, wasn't obvious, but Lonnie found a solution. Some at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory doubted his idea would work. Lonnie convinced them it would. He was right. As it photographed Jupiter and its moons, Galileo was supported by the power package that Lonnie designed. Much of what we know about Jupiter could have been at risk in a power failure if not for Lonnie. Ideas for other problems to solve just kept on flowing. They flowed whether Lonnie was working with hundreds of people at NASA or up late tinkering with his own inventions in, finally, his own workshop. Lonnie knew the world's millions of refrigerators and air conditioners needed a new cooling system, one that didn't use R12, a chemical that was bad for the environment. He had an idea for using water and air pressure instead. To test his idea, he made a pump and nozzle, connected them to the bathroom faucet, turned on the faucet, turned on the pump, and then whoosh.
Whoa.
The stream that blasted across the bathroom was so powerful, it created a curtain swirling breeze. It also gave Lonnie an idea for yet another invention. This, he thought, would make a great water gun. First, he had to find or make the parts, including a pump small enough for a child to handle. Then he had to glue the parts together into a prototype, an early version with room for improvement. Finally, Lonnie tested his strange-looking squirt gun at a picnic. Does it really work? A man asked. Sure, Lonnie said. Want to see? Lonnie worked the pump, which squeezed air into a chamber. When he pulled the trigger, the air escaped, forcing water out with a whoosh.
That guy's running away. I guess he decided it worked.
Uh-huh. For a water bottle to be a fair fight, there couldn't be just one of Lonnie's water guns. He needed help making more. So he went to toy company after toy company after toy company, and they all said no, no, no. The word no flowed again and again, but finally one company said yes. It planned to make his water gun. Lonnie also had other projects, a water-propelled toy airplane, 2 kinds of engines, and his cooling system. He found investors to provide the money for turning his ideas into products people could buy. He made a leap of faith, quit his day job, and devoted himself to full-time inventing.
Oh, what a chance. Took a shot at it.
But then, it sometimes happens, things start to fall apart, no matter how much someone works and tries. And it says, but soon each plan fell apart, even the one for the water gun. These things sometimes happen, but when they happen one after another to the same person, well, that's just pretty bad luck. Lonnie didn't have a job. He didn't have the money he'd been counting on. He and his family had to move out of their home and into a little apartment. He was angry and scared. But Lonnie had dealt with challenges all his life. He knew a lot about solving problems, and he still believed in his inventions, especially the water gun. Lonnie went looking for another toy company.
Wow. Oh, that has to be tough, really tough.
In 1989, he found a toy maker who was interested in seeing the water gun, if Lonnie ever happened to be in Philadelphia. But don't make a special trip, the guy said. Lonnie made a special trip. In his wife's suitcase, he carried a new prototype. He unpacked it, filled the tank with water, pumped the gun until the air pressure was good and high, and Whoosh,
Ah,
the water gun of water guns.
whoa, look at that.
Kids everywhere agreed with that. Wow, Lonnie's water gun, called the Super Soaker, became a smash hit. In no time, there were super soakers in backyards and on beaches, in parks and on playgrounds. Each sale of a super soaker put a little money into Lonnie's pocket. All those hours, all those years that Lonnie spent in his workshop had paid off big time. Now he could afford to do just about anything he wanted. So what did Lonnie do? He got a bigger workshop, which is where you'll find him today, because facing challenges, solving problems, and building things are what Lonnie Johnson loves to do. And his ideas just keep on flowing. So the end, it talks about Super Soaker. I don't know if they still have Super Soakers. Do they? Do you know?
Well, I bought some for when I had my daycare, so I haven't bought anything. I haven't had daycare for a few years, but they were really cool.
Yeah, it seems like they would be a good thing to have around. They put out flames, if you were barbecuing, and something started to burn, or just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Just
Oh
playing
yeah.
with them.
Kids just loved them. It was very fun.
Uh-huh.
Very fun.
So anyway, that was the end of the story, and I just admired how he, despite when things looked bad, and he didn't give up. It's the phrase "never give up." It's shown through him too.
Even when he lost his home and had to move into a small apartment with his family and everything, a whole bunch of disappointments,
Mhm.
he just wouldn't quit. He just believed in it. It's an amazing story.
I know, and it seems like today there are a lot of disappointments. People buy a new house and then suddenly their place of work goes somewhere else, maybe out of the country, and so all their hopes and dreams for that place is gone, and so it's what people have to go through. But is not to give up and keep on keeping on.
Yeah. So very cool. So how are the stories the same? What do you think was same and what was different?
I don't know. I think that they're just different topics, but it's all the same. Keeping a positive attitude and looking on the bright side of things, and not getting angry, and getting along with others. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you think of any more things?
To me, I can fly in my dreams. And Lonnie had a dream. He had a dream of being an engineer. He took a test, and the test said, "Well, he really doesn't have what it takes to be an engineer." And he's like, "What? They don't know me, or they don't know Linux." And he just wasn't going to let what somebody else told him. And so to me, that's a dream. You have a dream, you have a belief, and he just stuck at it, no matter kept getting no's. Then he finally finds a company that's gonna actually put money up for his ideas, and then those all fall through, and he has to move into an apartment, but he still keeps on going. He's just like, no was just not. He just heard not yet. No means not yet to Lonnie, at least in my perspective, my perception. So
yeah, he was persistent. He didn't give up, and he just looked. He just took every day as it came, and believed that things would work out somehow. What his dreams were going to work out, and if not, it would be another idea could come across and help him out.
Yep. So when you fall or your dreams fall, you just have to get up one more time, then you fall. Just one more time, then you fall.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Just one more, you know.
Mhm.
So thank you so much, Grandma Janet, for sharing those two stories. And we'll be back again next week for Grandma Reads a Story. Thank you.
Okay, that was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Goodbye.